I don't know about y'all, but this has kind of become a highlight of my week since we've been doing this, just to get everyone together and see your faces and to see you all support each other in the way that you are is just incredible and inspiring. So thanks for being on. Last week we received a lot of questions about virtual fittings, and so we thought we'd bring in some experts. So we have Upper Quadrant on the call who will be leading a presentation. They've put together a panel of some retailers who have been using the virtual fittings, and we'll talk through the process and answer questions that you have. Similar to previous weeks, if you have a question, easiest way is to submit it in the chat. And then Scott or myself will see it, and we will either call on you or read the question aloud, depending on, if it needs explanation. So I think that's it. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Scott.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll make this quick and brief, and we have a really good panel. If we'd have brought up the idea of virtual fittings 4 weeks ago, everyone would have laughed at us and told us what a crazy idea that was. But now it's become kind of the norm. So before we get started, I want to start with our panel. Then we're going to jump into a video, and then we'll kind of walk through and give you some experience of real retailers, what people are seeing on the phone. So Rich from FITniche will share his video. Rich just launched this yesterday, has 9 fittings so far. I have Ryan Callahan from Runhouse, who's behind the social distance running, and he has put together just phenomenal artwork around helping introduce this to people. I have Lizzy Peppers from Charm City. Lizzy has just rolled this out this week and has been instrumental in training teams. So we'll walk through kind of what their implementation path was. I have Joe Schultz from Pacers, who's probably done more virtual fittings than anyone on the planet, would be my guess right now with customers. So he'll walk you through what the customer experience is, what questions he gets. And I also have Melissa Meyers from my team at Upper Quadrant, who's been setting up a bunch of scheduling applications for anyone who needs help. And we've been doing that for free if anyone needs it. So without further ado, let's watch the video that Rich put together.
Get a personalized shoe fitting without coming into the store. Schedule a fitting online. We email you a link to make it a video conference. You can use any portable laptop, tablet, or smartphone. We get to know you first with a conversation. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Rich.
What are you going to be using the shoes for?
Running around the lake around 2 to 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes each time.
Okay. Any aches or pains now or in the past?
Sometimes I have a pain on the outside of my right knee. It flares up every once in a while, but it's okay now.
Set your device on any longish, uncarpeted stretch of floor and take off your socks. Kitchens and hallways often work best. Trace and measure your feet so we know your true size. Supplies you'll need are 2 to 4 pieces of paper depending on your foot size, tape, and pen or pencil. This step is optional, but we really do recommend it because feet can and do change over time for a variety of reasons. Now we can guide you to shoes we know will be perfect for your feet. Shoes that will carry you for many happy miles on FITniche.com.
So, Joe, how many virtual fittings have you done in the last 2 weeks, you think?
In the last 2 weeks, I've about 25 to 30. I don't know the exact count. I'd have to pull out my sheets. But it's in that range.
Lizzy, what's your guys' status? What is Charm City status with with virtual fittings?
Yes, so we have 3 people pretty much on duty every day, Monday through Friday. And I would say each person averages from 2 to 4 appointments a day with those 3 people. So anywhere from 8 to 12, I would say, per day.
Ryan, kind of go through the artwork and what the vision behind the artwork was for to basically help customers navigate and introduce them to virtual fitting, which is a whole new thing for everyone.
Yeah, so Scott, I think that with this new kind of service, I think your initial reaction if you're a retailer and I came from Run Specialty was like, this is going to be weird, or people aren't going to understand this, or there's just going to be a lot of friction involved here. But I think that what we're seeing right now is because everybody's just interacting differently right now, people are open to new kinds of engagement. But also because it might be a little bit complicated, what we did is we went through, and our creative team, created assets that kind of show a step-by-step process. So instead of making it super cumbersome in a copy standpoint and being like, here's, you got to do this and then do this, we really tried to create some content that would help the retailers tell a very simple story around digital fittings that are both fun. They're fun, the designs are great, but then also make it easy for somebody to understand what goes into a virtual fitting. And those assets, Scott, I believe you guys have those in your toolkit, and then we also have those. Those are available to everybody in Run Specialty for no charge. So
cool. So Rich, I know we talked a few weeks ago, and you kind of got your team together as you guys were getting ready to close your store. Can you walk people through like what your process was for kind of getting started, how you kind of got your team on board, what were your fears, and kind of just walk through your process?
Well, first we got the whole team together, and we looked at your process that I think you did this first with Pacers and Ryan's storyboard of steps in the process. We put our heads together on a Zoom conference call like this, and we said, okay, what would our process look like? Here's something to start with, and then we developed our steps around that. And so honestly, we're still fiddling with it, but we feel like we've got it pretty down in terms of like the basic things we want to try to accomplish. We struggled with a couple of things like how do we get an accurate shoe size? And we went through a few iterations of, do we want to, first we had them drawing like in the video, like trace your foot and draw a box with right angles, a rectangular box around your foot, and then measure the width and the length. And we're going to use a chart to correlate that to a length and width of shoe. And then one of our managers said, hey man, why don't you just stand on a ruler? And so we all took our shoes off and we stood on rulers, and then we did the correlating with a size to inches chart. And lo and behold, it worked out pretty well just to stand on the ruler. So now we're just standing on the ruler instead of doing the whole art project, as we called it. And then went through a real struggle. I did. It's like trying to get a scheduling tool that would work great. And we ended up choosing simplybooked.me. And it's a little bit of a learning curve, at least for me it was. Probably wouldn't be for a lot of people to start with. But it's really a good tool, and it's really super flexible and can be adapted for a lot of other things besides just virtual fits. We can schedule going forward in the future. We can schedule other things like form clinics and things like that. But so we use simplybooked.me. I will tell you that sorry, I'm just going on and on, but I want to share with you kind of our pains that we're experiencing. Simplybooked.me, we wanted to use Zoom as our preferred video chat method. So we created a Zapier link from simplybooked.me to Zoom, and it auto creates a meeting in there. But then we couldn't, I couldn't get, and I shared this with you, Scott, Zoom then to like create some sort of auto notification of both the customer and the store. So simplybooked.me has another application called Groovio that they are integrated with. And so we're experiencing some challenges with Groovio. I think our team would agree that with low bandwidth for the customer or for us, when we're kind of on not super great internet speeds on either side of the equation, it can freeze up and not work real great. So now we've gone to Groovio is our #1 method. And just like in the timing business, you got to have backups. So now we back up by going to Zoom. Our staff has also gone to FaceTime, and just as effectively, I think, has gone to just a simple phone call to help some customers. So
So from a technology perspective, you definitely need something that's a scheduling or form-based off to bring these in. We see on average, on the low end, we're seeing 6 to 9 on average per day. On the high end, we're seeing 16. When we roll this out with Pacers, I think, and Kathy's made this public, I think we had 100 within the first few days and booked up 2 weeks full. So we started scrambling to add more staff, and it's giving staff incentive, and everyone's really comfortable with it. Lizzy, can you kind of walk us through, like, you know, you've had some challenges, like your staff was a little nervous about it up front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like you said, it's just such a new concept for everybody. So it definitely takes a little bit of time to get used to. But I will say, once you jump into that first appointment, I think most of those hesitations dissolve. So I know Melissa mentioned something down in the chat, but I think the biggest thing is having a calendar service that does integrate effectively with Zoom or whatever video service you want to use. We personally use 10 to 8. And that basically eliminates having to manually send a link to the customer. I think that was a lot of our staff's worry, was just that simple part of, how do I get the link to the customer, make sure they know where to go. So when it automatically integrates like that, you take away that concern. So again, we use 10 to 8, and that is a very easy setup with Zoom.
Yeah. And Joe, you guys use Calendly on yours. So Joe, kind of walk us through, since you've had a lot of experience, like face-to-face with clients in a virtual environment, like kind of walk us through like what you go through with the customer, how long it takes, what's, you know, just kind of what's that customer experience been like?
So we've tried really hard to make sure that it feels pretty much like you're walking into the store with us. The thing that's great to start off, we use Calendly. It integrates with our Google Calendars and with Zoom, so that it just is nice and seamless. And then in order for them to book an appointment, I get this lovely little sheet that gives me some information about them, where they have to answer a few questions. So this kind of helps with that, like when someone walks in the door in your store sort of scenario, you ask some questions to get started, you already have that information. So you can just kind of dive into talking to them about, reviewing what this says, and really trying to understand the pains and problems they're having, what they're doing, just like you would any other customer. And once you kind of get that conversation going, I would say, I think what Lizzy was saying, is that all the rest of it just kind of falls away, and you're just having that conversation. It's a really easy one. I try to keep it a little more tailored than I might if it was out on the floor, where you have that entire wall of product there. You might talk about this or talk about that, or they might gravitate towards this. So there's a little bit more asking, is there anything in particular you're interested in from brand or fit perspective, those sorts of things. But it's kind of the same thing. Not watching folks run, no one really has a setup that would allow that sort of view. But we're watching them stand, watching them walk. I do a front foot view and a rear foot view, so I can see what the heel bones are doing and how they load their foot as they move, and just really try to understand the full picture. I ask for, can you hold your shoe up and show me the heel wear? Can you show me the forefoot wear? And just try to understand that with what I'm seeing and how they move and what the whole form that they filled out tells me. From there, it's just kind of picking a couple shoes that make the most sense. And a lot of the times, based on what they've filled out for me, I have some ideas. So they're already there. I can just pull them out, and it's very clear, almost over explaining, because the person's not going to be able to try them on right there. So it's really being very specific about the fit and feel, weight, cushion, flex, whatever you feel is the most important things to highlight about that shoe versus what they're in. And then I present typically 2 options, because I found when I've tried to do 3, I end up getting, they get lost in the conversation. Whereas in the store, you might use that 3rd one to really try stuff on and help them really decide where to go. You have to do that step for them based on what they're saying. And so you're presenting, here's one, here's the other. They're both great. You probably have to make a little bit stronger recommendation. Like, these are both good. I like this one. I like this one. I'd probably go here, though, if I'm you, and here's why. And when I do that, I get really great conversion. I've had some really wonderful customer feedback from it. So,
cool. talking about conversion rate, Joe, can you share like what your typical conversion rate is for fittings?
So like I was saying, for me, I'm hitting about 80%, and that's actually happening like over the conversation. There's some folks who I know afterwards are going to the online store because we're sending links, and so they're buying them a little bit later after they maybe decide what location they want to pick up from, or if they want to do shipping, or sometimes folks want to do a bit more research. I think as a company, what we're doing so far based on the spreadsheet we have, which doesn't accumulate the entire 3 weeks we've been doing this. It's really just been the last few days. The spreadsheet looks like we're coming out around 75-80% overall in terms of actually purchasing then or that day, where we can see it later on as a show up on online purchase. Going back through and trying to track later if those folks came through. I know I've had a couple where I'm shipping stuff out from the Clarendon location. I'm like, oh, I fit that person 2 days ago. So I know that purchase also then occurred. So we're doing a really good conversion overall. And the thing that I think I mentioned before everyone joined in that's been really great is it kind of cuts down on the browsing. We don't have a lot of folks that are booking these appointments just to find out information. We have folks that are booking these appointments because they really want something. Maybe they do want a little bit of information about, hey, this versus this, or confirmation that they're in the right thing, that they want to just order another pair. But it's been really solid interactions and really nice folks, like really happy.
Cool. Lizzy, what is Charm City seeing as conversions?
We have not started tracking that, but I would say similar to that 70-75%. Similar to what they're seeing at Pacers, some of that is people ordering from the online store afterwards, but most of it is taking place right in that call. I think another great thing is right now people are very conscious of shopping local and supporting small businesses. So a lot of people are excited to shop with us. And also the reaction we've gotten, overwhelmingly so, is that people are so appreciative that we're offering this service, which has been incredible to see. So I think people are just so excited that we're offering our services and also to support small business right now.
Cool. Joe, can you share your story about the couple, the gratitude story?
Yeah, so by and large, it's kind of the same thing Lizzy is saying. We've had a lot of folks who've just been so happy, so thankful, glad that we're there. But I had a couple on, I guess that was Monday, where he was actually, he booked the time for his wife to get her shoes for her birthday. They'd shopped with us before, but we kind of went through the full conversation and like, okay, so here are the shoes I'm going to go get. I actually had to go grab them off the wall because I didn't have info really to work from because he didn't fill it out for her. So we had the full conversation. They kept kind of thanking us along the way. But what was cool is I went over to the shoe wall to grab a couple things to come back. And they were talking with each other, and you could hear her say, it's so great that they figured out a way to do this and how they can be so inventive in a time like this and still help us out. And it was just really nice to hear that sort of vibe coming from folks. It's just, they're happy to see us continuing to find a way to function and thrive even in an environment like this, which is certainly tricky.
Cool. And there's a lot of questions about kind of like how we promote this and how you actually get people to book fittings. One of the things that came about as we put some chat stuff on like Pace's website and a few other websites is a lot of people's like, hey, I'm walking and running more. And if you go outside, you see that there's a lot more people walking and running. And they say, hey, I just want to get the shoes I just had, or I want, how can I get a fitting? Or they started asking different questions about different shoes. So that's kind of what sparked this. And we turned this around really quickly. And the big thing I think that is trying to educate people. So Ryan, can you kind of talk about like how we used email and social? Like the email, I think, just drove a lot instantly. We set that on a Friday afternoon. But I think using the image assets and so forth that Runhouse created as part of this for Pacers, and as a team, as we started doing this, Kathy and Pacers and Runhouse, all of us said, we just need to open source this and make it available to the whole industry. But Ryan, kind of walk through the social aspect and kind of what your recommendations are there from a branding agency.
Yeah, so Scott, I think the biggest thing is being really, really focused in the messaging. I think right now, I mean, like it's starting to die off a bit, but how many of us were getting like 10 emails a day from all the various businesses you follow that are just like, hey, we want to just talk to you about COVID-19 right now. And after a while, I was just like, I just don't care what everybody has to say about this anymore. Like, so I think the fact that we're able to lead with a very strong focus message that was like, this is a thing that we are offering. We're offering it right now. Schedule a fitting, and not mucking it up with 5 other things that we're currently doing. That's not to say you shouldn't be doing lots of other things, but I think if you're going to invest in doing virtual fittings, if you're going to have staffing for it and you want to build an infrastructure with invites and everything, I think you want to prepare some communications that are like really, really driven specifically into, hey, you know, we're offering virtual fittings. Here's how it works. Here's how you can go schedule time. Like I said at the onset, your audience right now is way more open to doing kind of unique kinds of business transactions and interactions due to the current environment. So I think it starts with a really kind of focused, direct message. Use the assets that we provided. You know, they're square cropped. They don't have a ton of text on them intentionally so that they don't get pushed down on like Instagram or on social media. So, you know, put those out there on social media, use them in the email, and then focus your content really directly on things that you're offering for your customers right now during this time. So to me, that's the biggest thing. And then make it your own. You know, if you want to show some behind the scenes, if you want to show some like photos of, you know, like, oh, our first few, whether you're doing it curbside or ship outs or whatever, you know, our first few virtual fittings, shoes are actually going out to customers, so your customers can see that like you are doing this, people are actually doing it, purchasing, and shoes are going out the door. So doing some kind of like Instagram stories to show some behind the scenes stuff, I think would be really helpful.
So I think the key thing there is this whole virtual fittings is completely new to the industry, but it's also new to customers. Lizzy, how are you kind of educating customers and getting customers comfortable with it?
That is a good question. So I think just explaining that simple process, whether that be on social posts or email, I think right now the key, like it was already touched on, putting out the messaging and making sure people are informed, but not overdoing it with too much unnecessary language. So I think just simply explaining the expectations that we're here for you, whether you've been fit before or have questions about some sort of new shoe you've been researching. And then again, putting out those expectations that you need to bring your current shoes with you. You'll need some space so we can see you walk. So putting that out in simple but meaningful terms on social and email, that's been the biggest thing for us. And even though we haven't done a ton of outreach outside our own audience in terms of social media and email, we've found a lot of new customers. I think also our stores are getting a lot of phone calls from people who are finding our contact information and want to talk about shoes. So then we simply direct them to our booking page. So that's been another great thing. People seem to be finding us as they are looking for shoes. And then it's just making sure whether they go to our website, social media, or call us, they can be easily directed to that booking page.
Cool. And Rich, you put together a video. Can you kind of walk through like what that process was?
We got our team together on Sunday. We realized we needed some sort of mechanism to simply and easily tell people what was going to be involved. We needed to forecast what was going to be involved and make people believe that it was going to be an easy, frictionless process. And that was our thinking behind, hey, we got to get a video. So we called a local company and I begged them to put something together real fast for us. They drove over literally the next morning, and within a couple of days, we had the video pieced together. But our overarching thought was that we needed to have something simple and something that communicated that this was going to be an easy process for the customer.
Cool. And I know this is relatively new to everyone, and I think Pacers has probably been doing it longer than anyone. Are you seeing any returns come back?
So let me make sure I can't remember. Okay, it's not muted. So we have seen a few come back, but mostly it's been a little bit on kind of the fit side of things so far. But we're just, 4 weeks in now? 3 weeks in? I forget. It feels like it's been a couple years since all this started. But everyone's been great. If we've had to do an exchange, we've had to do an exchange. It's not been a return. It's just been a matter of, because they haven't been able to try it on, so you still have the same sort of rate I think you would get otherwise. It doesn't feel anything out of the ordinary so far. but we're just kind of getting to that point where if we're going to see a shift in that, it's going to start happening soon. So I don't really have great data there yet. But the couple that I've had so far personally have just been size things. They're like, I probably should have just stuck with this size. I'm used to that. And like the conversation you might have on the floor where you find out, oh, they also play soccer and they also rock climb, so they're not used to having space in their shoes to begin with. Those sorts of things come up later in you're doing the return or exchange here. But it's been nothing out of the ordinary. And we were offering either you can do it curbside exchange. We'll email or phone call or whatever we need to do to kind of figure out where we need to go and do a curbside exchange. You just bring me back the shoe. I'll give you the one you need. Or in some instances, when folks don't want to do that, we'll just PDF them a shipping label. They can just slap it on a box, send it back to us, and we'll take it from there.
Cool. Lizzy, you guys all have online stores and you're doing curbside pickup. Are you seeing most of these transactions coming through like when you're on the call, or are people going online afterwards and just buying online?
Yes, so I would say definitely the majority were placing the order on the call right then and there. Same thing if they were coming into the store, you really want to try to close that sale while they're engaged and have that decision made. That being said, like it has come up in the previous conversation, if they're still curious to look around a little bit, need to double check on some stuff, we'll make sure they have the direct links to our online store, or we'll tell them to give us a call back to place the order.
Cool. And Rich, you're experimenting going beyond footwear and also trying to bundle in like some socks and insoles.
Oh, we haven't done that yet.
Okay.
We're all talking, no action so far, but we're going to. And I was just thinking about that today, and I think that when we schedule the calendar, I think instead of bouncing them back to the home page, we're going to bounce them to a page that lets them watch that video again if they haven't seen it already, and then that lists a couple of bundles that'll be at a little bit of a discounted rate that they can select from. Like, just be prepared so that they know ahead of time that we've got a couple of bundles ready for them. And then our managers have talked about wanting to have something like that they can talk to. And to the questionnaire, the onboarding questionnaire, we haven't put a full set of questions together yet. We've just we've run it so fast. We just put a couple of questions in, but we also discussed that that's a great place to start with. Like, we're going to ask things like, are you running in the dark, and what sort of surfaces are you running on? That will give us some clues to things that we can then walk around the store and introduce based on that onboarding intake questionnaire.
Joe, are you getting beyond shoes, or is it mainly shoes?
It's been predominantly shoes. We also have some of our own branded DC flag stuff that we're selling alternately, but mostly shoes. Within the questionnaire, it's set up through Calendly, so they only allow so much space that we can really ask things, and to try to keep things from getting too wordy, it's fairly specific. But one of the things that is in there is asking, are you interested in looking at any other gear, any other questions, any other items in this conversation, so that we know going into it. So I've had some folks who specifically, I want shoes, but I also want to know about socks. Can you tell me about insoles, things like that. So we've had some success with that too. But it's kind of, I think everyone else probably has the same thing of trying to get everything up online too, so we can get it sold more smoothly. But yeah, we're seeing a few different things. And then we've introduced the 15-minute gear chats for the folks who maybe had questions but weren't necessarily thinking of buying shoes, where they can schedule an appointment that way too. So if they want to talk about socks, they want to talk about something else that might be a shorter conversation, we have 15-minute bookings there with a 15-minute cushion. So if it needs to turn into a longer conversation, it can.
Okay. So how long do you budget for your fittings right now? 30 minutes?
30 minutes with a 15-minute cushion.
Okay. How often do you run over?
Not very often. I tend to be able to get it knocked out within about 20 minutes. Depends on the person. I've had a couple that have run right up against it. I had one person that went long, and Zoom comes up with a warning, lets you know. And so I just said, hey, if we run out of time here, I will call you at the number we have, because it collects everything. I'll just call you back. We'll do a FaceTime and finish this up.
Okay.
And they were great with it.
Lizzy, what do you see from like, is it just shoes, or are you seeing more of a product mix?
So as we're starting to get more comfortable with the fittings, definitely moving into more of that wholesale experience. So insoles has definitely come up, and then we've had socks and sports bras as well. I think we talked about this on our last team call. Walking around the store is a great tool for that as you're helping them with the shoes, kind of showing them what we have in stock, seeing if they're interested in anything else. Again, I think just like when people come into the store, you kind of have to bring up that question. It's probably something they might not be thinking about, especially since we're seeing a lot of new runners and walkers. So introducing socks and apparel, sports bras into the conversation at the end. I do like the idea of having the follow-up question on the initial questionnaire about if they're interested in more gear. I think that's also another great way to kind of get them thinking about that. So I think we'll probably add that. But I think, just always asking those questions at the end of the sales, even though they've signed up for a shoe fitting. We've also put out virtual shopping appointments. So that would be with our apparel buyer. We haven't had any signups for that yet. That being said, we really haven't promoted it. It's just been a mention along with our shoe fittings. So we're looking forward to having some of those, and that will be with her walking around the shop and finding what they might need.
Cool. So Rich, how has this helped or hurt your team morale? Like how does your team's reaction to this?
They're all on the call. So like if any of them, I don't know that, I hope that it gives us at least something to, pour ourselves into and try to push so that we can have some business.
Cool. And Joe,
but anybody on the team want to chime in, guys?
I mean, I can answer that one. I know the folks who on our team who've been doing the fits love it. I think we all get into this business because we love running, but ultimately you find out that you really love people. And so you really like helping the folks that come in, and we're all, even though we're not necessarily extroverted, we're all really happy to talk to the folks. And so part of our social interaction is being able to deal with the customers every day, help them out. And so getting that part of the job back, at least for the folks that I know with Pacers, it's been really fulfilling. It's been really nice to have that back, and it's energized a lot of folks.
So Ryan, from a branding perspective, do you see schedule of virtual fitting sticking around, and how do you think it represents the brands?
Oh, that's a great question, Scott. I'm not sure. It's so hard for me to think of what this world is going to look like once things return back to normal. But, I definitely see it. I definitely see it being a tool that could continue to exist in some format. I'm thinking a lot about just how transient people are these days, and how people might, let's say somebody lives in DC and is a big Pacers shopper, and then moves on halfway across the country. Maybe they would still want to have connections back to their local store, and doing virtual fittings could be a way of offering that. Or maybe it's a way to reach people who are a little bit, outside geographically, people who are farther out in suburbs, maybe don't have quality run specialty shops nearby. So I think it could definitely be, could definitely stick around. And like anything, I think what has come from this so far is a really great idea, and I'm curious to see how it evolves and how people use this going forward. It's virtual shoe fittings, but what other ways could people get creative to engage with their customers, that customers are now going to be more open to post all of this stuff happening. So, and then I forget what your second question was, Scott, sorry.
Like, how do you think it represents the brand?
In terms of the store?
Like if you look at like this versus like buying on Amazon or buying.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's huge. I think for any of you who are considering offering this, I think there is a less tangible return on investment in this, in that this is a thing that big box retailers aren't offering and can't really offer and can't really have these kinds of touches. So I think just saying to your customers that you're doing it, and even if you only end up having a few transactions from it, I think it reflects really well on your brand. I think, and I don't want to get too long-winded with this point here, but I truly think this is going to be a moment for buy local, what is happening right now. I know all of us here wish that consumers were more prioritize buying local more than they do. Some do, some don't. I think we all wish it shifted a little bit more. I think this is going to have a shift on that. I think everybody right now is really seeing the impact of what local businesses and smaller businesses have on their community. And I think the more that you guys can be doing to be showing your customers that you're here for them, that you're showing up, that you're getting creative, and that you're finding new ways to connect with them. All right, maybe you sell 10 pairs of shoes over the next week, and that's great. But I think long term, just showing up for your customers and doing things that only local stores can do, I think is going to just continue to pay dividends down the road when everybody returns and really realizes how important local businesses are to everyday life.
Cool. So Lizzy, what is your appointment window like? When do you guys start doing appointments in the morning? When do you end them? Are you doing evenings? Do you do mornings, early mornings? Like, what's your schedule look like for it?
So right now we are doing our schedule based purely off of the hours that our stores are open for orders, which is Monday through Friday, 10 to 3 p.m. And like I said, we always have 3 people on 30-minute blocks. That being said, this is still very new to us, so I would love to expand that a little bit to offer times that might work better for certain customers. Additionally, though, if a customer calls and needs a certain time, we kind of just make that appointment for them right then and there. So we're trying to be extremely accommodating. But like I said, we've kind of set up our appointments to start out with for the hours that the stores are open for online and phone orders anyways.
Cool. And Joe, how many people do you have doing fittings right now, typically in a day? Like staff?
It depends a little bit on the day and who's on the schedule, who's off. But within that, I think, how many do we have on the team now doing it? If you had the right day, you could have 7 or 8 folks fitting in the course of a day. But generally, I think you probably got about 4. I know, like Monday, I had 7 myself because I think other folks get assigned other things. But as you go through, it's a pretty much a team thing. And we swapped in between 2. Like I picked up one for somebody the other day, and then they actually took one so I could do the prep for this meeting on Tuesday. Just like anything else, it kind of ebbs and flows with the day and who books out. I know I've got stuff booked out. Last I looked, I haven't looked today through April 20th.
And Rich, are you guys running normal store hours for fittings, or are you going more flexible?
No, we're doing our store hours. So we're open. Our store hours are that we're open and asking our managers to be present in the store right now are 10 to 4 and Sunday 12 to 4. And so we're doing our fittings in that period of time. Starting at 10:30, we give them 30 minutes. We give people 30 minutes to get in and check our NUMA calendar and stuff like that. But regular store hours like Charm City.
Okay. And Lizzy, are you guys seeing, like, I know it's kind of near for you, maybe all 3 can answer this. Are you seeing this as more customers who've already shopped with you, or are these people that are new to run specialty?
They have definitely seemed mostly new. I would say our returning customers, even if they aren't sure what they've purchased in the past, they're just giving us a quick call so we can look up their account. It's been very cool to see all the new customers who are finding this resource and are booking appointments. So I would say mostly new, might have some familiarity with us from a race or hearing about us from a friend, but mostly new customers.
Joe, what are you seeing?
So for me personally, I'd say it's about half and half. We're getting folks who have shopped with us before and just kind of want some confirmation, or they shopped with us before and I've liked this, but can you show me something else? But I'm also seeing a lot of folks that are kind of, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to get out of my house. Running seems like the option that I can do. Walking seems like the option I can do. And I know you guys have a good reputation, so I saw this. Can you help me out? And so I've had conversations just like any Saturday where it goes both directions. But to echo what Lizzy just said, we also get the folks who have definitely been shopping with us in the past. A lot of them are just calling up and saying, I'm on the website. I want to buy something. Can you just tell me what I got before? And we're just pulling up their customer account and answering that question. And then they buy it through our online shop.
Yeah. And how are you following up? Like someone comes in and make a purchase. What are you doing to follow up? Do you send an email? Do you what's that follow-up touch point?
Talking to me?
Yeah. Let's start with you.
In terms of like following up, hey, how do you like your shoes? Or following up, hey, it was great talking to you. Here are the things that we talked about. Here are the links to the shoes we talked about. Here are the differences. Which sort of scenario? Both. What do you want?
Yeah, I think because we're talking about like, since you're creating a moment for the customers, getting them to do more reviews for you or to basically post something about this to spread the word. I know that's something that we're starting to work with. Rich, you may already be implementing. I know we talked about that follow-up email moving forward. I think that's the next step with this. If anyone has any questions, like we're starting to run out of questions, but if you have questions, please post them to the board. I wanted to give Ryan a chance because we've been debating back and forth and talking about like, what do you do in social media given this time? And so Ryan actually put together some bullet points I think are very helpful for everyone.
Yeah, so this is taking kind of a step back from just virtual fittings, and we just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about social media and content in general right now. You know, and some of these things are gonna kind of rhyme with what I was saying earlier with virtual fittings. But you know, I think like more than ever before, engagement is just so key right now in social media. Being able to have interaction, being able to post content that encourages people to either reshare or to send you a message back. You know, people are really, really hungry for having some kind of connection right now. A small example of this, something that we've been doing, and I just use this as a point to illustrate just other things you can think of, or you can reshare what we're doing and use it as a resource. But we do these daily little journals where we say, you know, my name is, you know, my running store is blank, my city is blank, my running store is blank, today I ran blank miles. And then we like throw in a little prompt afterward, you know, and my post-race drink was, and I'm feeling blank, whatever. And we post these every day, and we've got people from around the country filling these out, tagging their stores and reposting them. So kind of just thinking through, you know, continue to think through engagement right now. You know, the kind of nice thing is you don't have to worry as much about selling as much right now. Like you don't really need to be saying like, this new shoe just came in, or, you know, like, because by and large, you don't have customers in the store. You're not operating like you typically do. So you've got the ability to kind of create some lanes right now that really focus on engagement and connecting with your community. You know, one thing that Philly Runner did up here in Philly is they've created a hashtag that they're using to keep a conversation going during this time. And if any of you don't have a store specific hashtag, now's a really good time to create one, either one that will just go on indefinitely so it doesn't need to be relevant to this moment, or if you have one that always goes on indefinitely, maybe one that is a bit more specific to this moment. So they've been doing Philly running, and this has become this really rich place where people are all posting their various runs that they're going on. And Philly Runner gets to kind of be the spearhead and the central voice in this. So, you know, community is more important than ever right now, even though people aren't creating physical community. More people are running than ever, it seems. I mean, every time I'm outside, there's more runners. There's tons and tons of runners. There's people who weren't runners before. And creating, I think, centralized hubs for people to have conversation and engagement is really, really key. You know, I think keeping message positive too. I think for the initial knee jerk for a lot of stores was to be like, wow, this is hitting us really hard. We could use your help. I thought that was really great. I think you should keep your message continuing to focus on the fact that you're local, the things that you're doing in the community, the things that you're offering. But I think people are hearing enough kind of bad news on a day-to-day basis that really trying to be positive and really celebrating, resharing interesting things that your runners are posting, cheerleading a lot, making sure you're commenting more often on your customers' posts. You know, I think all of that kind of creating conversation right now is really huge. And then just a couple other things. Oh, any new business practices you're doing, make sure you're educating your consumer on them, because like I said earlier, consumers are getting 10 to 15 messages a day from small businesses that are like, hey, we're doing online orders, we're offering this, we're offering this, we're offering this. So really make sure that if you are doing something different like virtual fittings, curbside pickups, you just launched an e-commerce store, make sure you're really educating your consumers that you're now offering that, and keep those messages really focused and on point, because you know, you may be thinking about it all day, every day, but your consumers are being hit with a lot of messaging right now. So making sure that you're able to clearly articulate to your consumers the new kinds of things that you're offering them. And then, you know, the kind of two things that I wanted to say is, I think a lot of store owners have been using this time to get things done that maybe, you know, you never had time to get done in the past, and people have a lot of free time. So I think right now is a great time to be putting together So, more strategic social media planning, thinking through your content strategies down the road, thinking through how you want to better communicate with your customers. If your email template has been getting kind of outdated, maybe it's time to clean that up. Just anything you can do to be thinking through strategically how you're going to be fixing your content or improving your content when things come back to normal. I would just add that to your checklist of other things you're doing right now with your business. And then the final thing I'd say is, I think everybody should really be ready to celebrate when things come back to normal and be thinking about right now, what does that day look like? Because I really anticipate this being a big moment when your stores open back up, right? That's probably the first thing that's going to happen. And then down the road, you're going to start having community group runs again. You'll have races again. But think through now what that day is going to look like, because people are going to be really, really excited when that happens. And runners in particular are going to be really excited to get back in the store, try on new products. I assume there's going to be more runners. So spend the time now thinking about, it might be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, but start thinking about how does that moment look like when you guys reopen? How are you celebrating it? What kinds of cool contests can you do? What kinds of special, gift of purchase can you offer? What kind of support can you get from your brands? But I expect running long-term to have a really big bounce back as a result of this. And I think that when everybody reopens, whenever that might be, that's going to be a really big moment to celebrate with your customers, and one that I think people are going to be excited about.
Yeah. Lizzy, can you talk a little bit about like the Josh emails, like a message from Josh?
Sure. So definitely the most effective thing that we have seen is sending emails that have basically just been a letter from our founder, Josh. They're always pretty personal, and I would say they deliver our messaging in terms of updating our customers with the state of our business, every step of the way. When we had to close our doors and we're just doing curbside, then when we shifted to just online and phone orders and delivery, we launched virtual fitting. So keeping the customer updated without being pushy or salesy, for lack of a better word, those emails have gotten phenomenal responses. So basically it's just the top of the email is a letter from Josh, usually includes kind of some connections with his own family, his kind of personal thoughts without stating the same things that every small business is saying about the current situation and crisis. And then at the bottom of the email, we always provide some call to action links with whatever we're messaging at the time. Like I said, whether that's linking to our new online store or virtual fitting appointments. So
I think we lost Lizzy.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now you're good.
Okay, sorry guys. So they know exactly where they need to go. So again, the top is that email, and then the bottom is provides those links. If I put that it's a note from Josh in the subject line, those emails get opened at the highest rates of all our promotional emails, and they end up having the biggest impact on revenue and sales, but it's without us. We do provide the links and call to action, but it's without us making that the entire focus of the email, if that makes sense. I think that really goes back to the small business feel and making things, giving people that personal experience that they have when they come into the store. People really resonate that and connect with it. We've gotten fantastic response emails with people really responding well to the emails. So that's definitely been our most successful strategy during this time, I would say. And then, carrying that over to the social media. Just want to echo everything Ryan said in terms of keeping customers informed about how they can shop with us and what we're doing, but also just sharing uplifting and inspiring user-generated content and positive messages from our vendors as well.
Cool. And Joe, you want to say some closing remarks?
Closing makes it sound so official. I don't think I'd go that far. I just wanted to note, talking about kind of the downtime. Well, first, let me backtrack 1 second. We're doing the online virtual fittings. We're doing the gear chats, but I would also like to add, we've we've added in virtual bra fittings. We are also engaging the new runner, the new walker with one-on-one chats that they can book with one of our just most spirited folks, Heather, to kind of guide them through this is how you start off. And then we're also doing once a week happy hour with a local coach of ours that we really love, Tammy. And we've got a happy hour tonight with 75 folks that are going to be attending that virtually. So just other ways to kind of reach out to the customer base that we have and to that community and just really make sure that we're engaging them. But the thing I want to say really about kind of using this time is one of the things that we're doing at Pacers that I am very thankful for and love is we're doing like 3 times a week. We're having these conversations. We're talking in the morning and we're going through this whole conversation about where are we now. So we're engaging each other. We're engaging the business. We're talking about what we need to do to grow, what our little projects are doing. There's a lot of really great energy and invigoration that's coming from this because we're all having to really kind of change direction and take chances. And so that sort of engagement back from Chris and Kathy and then the buying team back down through all the rest of the staff that are engaged in this, it's been a really great moment to grow and communicate. And I think we're going to come out of this a whole lot stronger as a team. So that's one of the things I would encourage all of you guys to take a look at and make sure that you're doing with your teams as well.
Cool. You made Kathy smile. So some things we're going to be doing upcoming is we're working with some brands. We're going to have more content coming into the toolkit. We're going to be putting forward what we call a resilient marketing plan. We've been working with our clients to look 4 weeks out and have a 4-week plan based on what conditions are that gets updated every 2 weeks. Even though I know money's tight, there's still tremendous opportunity for online. Like if you've deployed fitted, now you've got to figure out how you get people to fitted, and we're going to share some ideas. We have the luxury of being able to look across multiple clients, multiple running stores, multiple geographies, and can really help you there. Our team, which loves and is passionate about Run Specialty, and Ray stepped away, but Ray gave us the challenge when we started doing business with them to help change the industry. We are here for you, regardless of whether you can pay or not pay. We are here to help you survive, and then we want to help you thrive. So we're making everything, we're trying to share everything and be transparent. We have an amazing team and an amazing set of clients, and I've just been so passionate about how all our clients have rallied together. And it is, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of having fun because we're doing things that would have never happened in the past because we would overthink them. But now we're seeing an impact on this. And at the end, we all get through this together. So thanks everyone for sharing this time with us. Christine, I want to hand it back over to you and see if you want to close off with anything.
Yeah. I don't really have anything, but thank you. This was great. Thanks Upper Quadrant and Pacers and Charm City and everybody. So we will likely do another one of these next week. So if you have anything that you'd like to talk about, shoot me or Mark an email and we'll make it happen. So thanks everyone.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.